Okay, to start with the Zara cap, I have here my marker already cut out. I have my scissors, I have my needle and thread, I have my measuring tape, and I have my fabric. So this is half of a yard. Also have my office pin here that I'll be using to pin down my work. So this fabric is satin doll face. Yes, this is doll face satin. We also have bridal satin. We can work with Ankara, we can work with crepe, scuba, lycra, ashoke. But for this particular work, I'm using doll face satin, and this is half of a yard. The yard is 36 inches, and half of it is 18 inches. So I'm working with this 18 inches wide. So here's my measuring tape. It has two sides. Where the numbers are written boldly is the inches. So this part is the inches, and the other side is centimeter. So we'll be working with the inches. Now I'm going to measure out my head circumference. I'll straighten my fabric properly so I can get it right. From the end of the fabric, from the tip of the fabric, I'll place my measuring tape, and I'm going to measure out 24 inches. Why am I measuring at 24 inches? That's 23 inches for the head circumference I'll be working with, plus additional 1 inch for allowance. So altogether is 24 inches. So if you have 24 inches as your head circumference, you'll be adding 1 inch to it, giving you 25. But mine here is 23 plus 1, 24 inches. So I use my chalk to mark that spot, 24 inches. So I'll go to the other end from the tip as well. I'll place my measuring tape and also measure 24 inches using my chalk to mark that spot. Now I said the wideness of this fabric is 18 inches, so that's what I'll be working with. I'll not reduce or add to it. Now I have two spots. I'll be joining them together using my chalk to draw a straight line. If you have a ruler, you can also do that. You can use a ruler to mark out a straight line, just bringing the 2 points together, because we'll be cutting out to that part, and for you to have a straight cut, so you have to mark out using your chalk. So I'm going to cut my fabric properly before cutting it out, just to ensure that I'm having a good and straight cut. So I already have this cut out, my 24 inches by 18 inches. I'll keep the other side, the other fabric, because it's still useful. So I can take my measuring tape once again to ensure that what I actually cut out is 24 inches. Yes, that's right, by 18 inches. Okay, so this is the right side of my fabric. I'll be flipping it over to the wrong side. So you allow the wrong side of the fabric to face you. As it's facing up, this is the wrong side of the fabric. Now my marker here is 20 inches long by 3 inches width. It is 20 inches long and it is 3 inches wide. Yours can be less than 3 inches. Like if you don't want the height of the cap, that you don't want the cap to be too high, you can reduce it to 2 inches or 2.5 inches. Now I want to mark out the center of the marker, and half of 20 inches is 10. So I'm spotting out the center because it's not at the same length as the fabric. The fabric is longer than it, and I need to place it at the center of the fabric. So I'll be doing the same thing for the fabric, folding it into 2 equal parts so as to get the center. Or because I have 24 inches, I can decide to measure out 12 inches just to ensure that I get the center. Now I have the center of my fabric and the center of my marker. Now I'll be placing the two center. Yes. So now my marker is already sitting at the center of my fabric. So what I'll be doing now is to pick my fabric from that tip and fold it around the marker. What I'm just doing is to flip it over. Flipping it over the marker. So that tip now I'm going to bring it out a bit. Yes, the marker is sitting inside, but because that tip I fought sewing on it, and I would not like to sew on the marker. So what I'll be doing, those edges I touch now, I will just push the marker in and make those edges lie on the fabric. That's directly on the fabric. So we'll be sewing on the fabric. Your needle shouldn't touch the marker, but on the fabric. So that's just giving it a little allowance. That tip doesn't have any measurements. You just hold in just to give it a little allowance so that you can be able to sew. So what I'll be doing now, I'll be using my office pin to pin those edges down. So you push the marker in and you pin firmly. Make sure the marker is sitting firmly. Then you pin beside the marker, not on the marker. Pin the fabric to the fabric, the tip of the fabric to the main body. So when I take it to my sewing machine, I'll remove the office pin gradually as I sew. So I'm going to sew from one end to the other to secure my marker. Okay, this is the outcome. So I've already sewn it. This is the right side of the fabric, and this other side is the wrong side of the fabric. So from this wrong side, I'll be bending it. Just bend it into two. That's having two equal parts. You can see my frame, the marker inside the fabric. Remember, it is 20 inches and my hair circumference is 23 inches. So what I'll be doing now, I'll take my measuring tape to measure out 1.5 inch. So on both sides has given me 3 inches added to the 20 inches, so together 23 inches. So I'll be using my office pin to pin it down. Okay. Now from this tip, I'm going to sew round to the end. But I'm going to curve it when I get to this part, this edge. Let me pin down this side, it's not staying well. Okay, so I'm going to sew from that tip where I have my office pin. I'll sew it down, but on getting to this edge, I'm going to curve. I won't get to the tip, I'm going to curve down. So I can use my chalk to trace out. I'm going to give it a pattern, a sewing pattern. This is how it's going to look like when I'm sewing. So when I get to this part, I'm going to curve it down. Instead of sewing to that end, you just curve it down. So this is how my sewing pattern is going to look like from that tip to this end. So you're just giving it a curve. So I'll take it to my sewing machine now and sew. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm done sewing. What I will be doing next now is to trim off the excess fabric that's very close to the thread line. I'll be trimming it off. Be careful so as to not tamper with the thread line with your scissors. So you just go very close to it. Some of the fabrics we use, the cuttings usually pull out the threads. So to avoid rough work, you just trim it off. Some prefer to use lighter to do that. So after this is done, I'll pass my thread into my needle. Then I'm going to do a running stitch. So I'll be starting from this tip here. I'll pass my needle in. To secure that very end, I'm going to do a back tack. Okay. Then I'll start giving spaces. I'll put in my needle, I'll pass it out, in and out along the thread lines. So I'll keep doing that on and on. So this is what we call running stitching. You just pass it in and out, leaving some gaps. I don't have a definite gap here, but I'm just leaving some spaces so as to have gathers like a pleating. So I'll keep doing that till I get to the tip, this very place. I will stop there. I won't go beyond that marker edge. So I'm going to secure this end properly by tying it. Then I can go over again to tack it. I'll keep tacking until I'm satisfied. Now when you don't tack your work properly, it might get loose at any time. So I'll be turning my cap inside out. Starting from the stitched part, I'll go gradually until it is totally turned out. So So this is what I have. The fine side is now outside, so I'm trying to arrange it properly for my marker to sit well. Then that sewing line will be at the top. I have this puffy side here. So this is what our cap is looking like. This is the remaining part of my fabric from the half yard. So if I don't want to do much, I can just decide to sew around the edges, the four corners, and form my gathers at the center of the fabric. So this will serve as my veil. Just form my pleating the gathers and make sure it's at the center of the fabric. Then I will attach it to my cap. So this is one method for Zara scarf. You just stitch it to your cap. This is still the same fabric, so I might decide not to do scarf again. This time around, I want to make a bow with it. So I'll be measuring out 20 inches long by 9 inches width. 20 inches long by 9 inches width. So it's going to be a double bow. Is it bow or bow? So I'm doing 20 inches by 9 inches. So I'll cut that out. So this is where your creative mind starts. You can decide to do the scarf, the bow. We have a twisted loop. We have different designs. So you start thinking of what to do depending on the quantity of fabric you have left. So this is 20 by 9 inches. So I'll be cutting it out. So I can do my trace pattern, so I can get it right. So you can still use your ruler to join the lines. Remember, this one I'm doing now is the big bow. I want to do a double bow. So this is 20 inches by 9. So now I'll be cutting it out, following the pattern I've just made. Okay, so this is for the big bow. For the small bow, the width remains 9 inches. 9 inches by 12 inches long. The first one was 20 by 9. This one is 12 by 9. So I'm going to trace it and cut out. If you want your bow to be bigger than this, you can increase the size. If you want it smaller, you reduce the size. But I'm working with this particular one. Okay. So I have both of them cut out. What I'll be doing this now is I'll be marking the center of my fabric to make my bow. So starting with the big one, I have the fine side will be facing me. The fine side will be facing me, while the wrong side is facing my work table. So I'll pick the center of the fabric, mark it by drawing a line, just to take note of the center. So this is the fine side. Now what I will do, I'll fold the two edges. I'll make the two edges of the fabric to meet. Now they will overlap each other a little bit, just very little. So on that line, the two edges of the fabric will be lapping each other. Then I'm going to pin down. So I'll be sewing the upper part and the lower part of the fabric. So I'll pin the center, I'll pin the corners too. I hope we're following up. So let me pin this to the side. just watch closely the time you get it, which I know. Follow the procedure step by step. That's why I'm breaking the videos. So I have this. I'm going to sew from this end to the end. I'll also sew from that end to the other end. Okay, so leaving the center open. I'm not going to sew there because I'll be flipping. So these are my two bows already sewn. You can see the two edges. I've gone to sew it. So what I'll be doing now, I'll be turning it inside out through this opening. So I'll be turning it to the fine side of the fabric. So I want to have that sharp edge, that's the four corners, to bring out that rectangular shape. So I'm using my finger to push it out. So after turning inside out, the next thing is to form my bow shape. But this fabric won't give me that shape I want, so I need to pad it so that the bow can stand, because this is a soft fabric I'm using. So we'll be using our foam to pad. Let me clean this chalk. We'll be using our foam to pad, but this time around I don't want to use foam. In case foam is not available, is there any other option, any other thing we can use? Yes, gum stay that the tailor usually use. So I'm placing the small one on the big one. This is how it's going to appear after padding it. Then I'm going to form the bow shape by picking the two fabric at the same time. Then I'll fold it forward, backward, forward, backward. So that's twice. Forward, backward, 2 times. Now this is the ordinary fabric. You can see my bow is not standing well. I want it to stand. So what I will do is to pad it. So to improvise, let me use this gum stay. This gum stay, I'll just use a little part of it. So you can get half yard of this gum stay. I think they sell quarter too. But for the foam, they don't sell quarter here, they don't sell half here. You have to get the full sheet. So that's the advantage of this one. So I'll be cutting out the shape of this rectangular shape I'm having, because I'm going to place the gum stay inside my fabric. So making headway is all about creativity. Just need to, many times we wear today now. Somebody that sat down just to the face. That's that. So you can create your own styles, and once it comes out well, just see that people will start cherishing it. So I'm done with the first one. I'll do the same thing for the smaller one. Somebody will say, this step is too long. It's not. As time goes on, you get it right. So I'm padding this small one. Make sure your needle and thread is ready, because we'll be tacking it. Now that open space is lying flat on the big one. I'm taking it again, in, out, forward, backward. So that's how it is. Make sure the small one is sitting at the center of the big one, sitting properly. Then forward, backward, forward, backward. So tack at the center. You keep passing your needle and thread until you match, until you are sure you have matched the center, those splittings, you match them together. And once you are done, you knot your thread properly. Don't cut it, just keep it aside. Now I'm placing my tape at the center of the bow. This is how it's going to appear after sewing it. So this kind of bow can be used for headband. You can attach it to headband. You can also use it as bow tie. So I'll keep tacking till I'm satisfied. So after that is done, I'm going to cut off this excess part, covering that stitched part, so our thread will not show. So when I'm done doing this, I'm going to attach it to the Zara cap, and we have a Zara cap with double bow. Then you can start embellishing. I'll draw pictures of the embellishments I've made earlier on different Zara caps. So this is what it's looking like. So you're going to attach it this way. Then you tack in and out, in and out, in and out. So make sure you tack neatly, and your Zara cap is ready. Thank you.